everybody, welcome back to Gun Totin' Minnesotan. My name is Andrew, and what you're looking at here today is the RangeWolf from Reiff Knives over at reiffknives.com. This is a new blade. It is just dropping as of today, the day of releasing this video. On the website, if you were to go check it out right now, you'll see that there's a number of options. I'm going to be reviewing the CPM MagnaCut Stonewash. It's orange and black G10. That's this model right here. There are other models. You can get an OD green. You can get micarta or G10. There's even some DLC coated red liner options if that's your thing. Here's mine, the RangeWolf, and here's the specs. It is 7.12 inches overall length. The blade is 3 inches. The blade width is 1.27 inches, and the blade thickness is 0.11 inches, and it comes down to a really scary sharp edge. It is MagnaCut, and this is at 63 to 64 HRC. Very happy to see that. 63 to 64 is an awesome range for the HRC, the hardness scale on this particular blade. Looking at the handle length, that's 4.12 inches, so it's a nice ratio of blade to handle. And then you're looking at a handle thickness of still 0.71 in the thickness, and with the width 1.06 inches, which is really respectable. Still only comes out to be 4.5 ounces. I'm going to show you a little bit of use with the blade. I'm going to go back and forth between meat and some other practical applications. It is a compact utility hunter and I would say like EDC blade. That's the way I've been carrying it. It's got an awesome warranty. They have their no cares warranty. Really great blade. I'm going to be recommending it. I think it's actually going to be my favorite fixed blade of 2025. Now, personally, I don't do neck roasts. So what I'm going to do is play around with this a little bit before I cut out these tiny little horns. He's just a little tiny 2-year buck, but good meat. And I'm going to just run the knife down the spine here because I don't do neck roasts. I'm not ruining any meat by cutting into it. I just want to kind of see how it does after this is frozen solid in the cold weather. And I've been carrying, can you see that? I've been carrying back here on my sling. Now, I got to be careful because this knife is outrageously sharp. This is a scalpel right now. All the way through. Yeah, absolutely. It's going all the way through. Froze meat too. Jeez. Went all the way through. I just need to test the blade out. I need to do some things with it that you wouldn't normally do. So if you're like, man, why is he doing that? I'm testing the blade. I want to see how it works against skin, against meat, fur. All these things can be tested and practiced on with this bit of hide that technically I'm not using anything for. I am going to feed the birds the fatty portions here. I'm going to cut out some of the meat and give it to the wolves. I'm telling you guys, this thing is wicked sharp. I wish I had this in hand when I was actually, cutting up the deer. Initially, I did a lot of testing with the F5, which is a great knife, but it is not this thing. This thing is wicked sharp. Nice thin edge. Now, if you never cut froze meat before, when it's been sitting out in 30-degree temperatures and it's just cold and frozen, usually it does not peel off very well. So you really got to pull hard, and you have to have a good sharp knife to get much of it off. And my main thing right now that I'm just kind of paying attention to is if I was actually using this for gutting, field dressing, I would just want to be paying attention to how sharp it is. That's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. It's really nice and thin. I prefer it this way over anything else. I'm just saying I would really want to pay attention. I want to guide that knife into the gut cavity, and then it's got a natural drop to it, as a lot of good hunting knives do. There's just a slight taper and drop. I'd want to get under there and let it ride that part of the belly as I zipper it open, get to the rib cage, and then depending on what kind of animal it is, just be careful not to chip this out. You know, use your proper tools. If you got to use a saw, or an axe or hatchet to break bones. But let's just go ahead and we're just gonna do this. I'm gonna flip it over and cut this strip off. Unreal. That is a really stinking sharp knife. I mean, absolutely razor. That's a scalpel of a blade. I am ecstatic with that. I have some good hunting knives, but this one serves more than one purpose in the way that I'm seeing it right now. It's not only for skinning. I actually think I could use this for multiple applications. It's got some nice jimping on top. So on top, it gives me a little bit of security, a little bit of grip as I come in closer. I can ride my finger up there. That's nice. Again, I got to be careful with how sharp it is, especially because I have some dexterity issues. I have a lack of feeling in my fingers, some numbness. And if I'm not careful, this thing, just a touch from that blade probably would do me in pretty good. I haven't checked my camera in a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see this okay, but it's separating that initial layer really, really well. Maybe next year I'll go for some neck roast and try that out. Seems like there's a decent amount of meat in here, but this is sat out in a couple days where 60 degrees. So not quite ready to get sick off this stuff. Let's cut another chunk out. Just zero effort. Wow. All right, I'm a big fan so far. It's very controllable. It's not a very long blade, and maybe some of you guys don't like seeing too much of that when you don't have to, but it's not a very long blade. Here's the sheath. Got a large size ulti clip on there. Great retention. Kind of a nice coating to it, and of course you do have the logo right there, Reiff Knives logo, USA made. Got a drainage hole in the back, or in the bottom rather. And the top rivets have passed through. So you can attach this for kind of whatever clip you need to, whether you want to go belt carry, or you want to go in the waistband, or as I was carrying just a second ago, actually just behind my chest holster. It fit well with the ulti clip. Starting with the handle, actually, every Reiff knife that I've had is not just cookie cutter, like here's another handle, it's the same handle as the last blade. They all have similarities, but they're all unique and they're all different. I can think of a number of brands that charge quite a bit of money for their blades, and it's basically just a different knife each time, a different blade each time, but the same handles. And I suppose some people like that a little bit. I prefer the handle to match the designation or the intended use and application of the blade. This one definitely matches. It's slightly thinner in the contour than some of the other Reiff knives that are more survival knife based. But it's not a bad thin, and something that's really important is there is a, a radius to all this. It's not just flat and blocky. I absolutely hate flat, blocky blades. This one doesn't have anything sharp on it. It's comfortable, but you've got this pyramiding and this grip in the G10. It's a layered orange and black G10 with some exposed hardware, so you can take these off. You could trade them out potentially if you needed to. But this is super grippy and not rough on my hands. Somehow it kind of does both. It's grippy, but it's not rough. You know, one direction it almost feels smooth, and then another direction it feels really grippy. So That's a good idea for a hunting knife. This is easy to clean off. If it had been like fabric micarta, like some of the other blades I reviewed, the Circadian, the Vicon, that's just harder to clean out, and it will take a blood stain pretty easy, but G10 tends not to stain very easily, and it washes out really great. I don't think I'll have any trouble washing blood and guts out of a blade like this. Handle, again, perfect for me. XL size gloves, that's what I wear. The thickness and broadness both matter a lot, and if I'm going to be bearing down or needing to get a good grip on something, I can't have a tiny little handle most of the time, especially in the cold, guys. It's terrible. You got to have something you can hold on to, and I can pinch grip for slicing. I can get my thumb up here for a reinforced cut if I'm going against wood or some other sort of medium, maybe cardboard or plastic. If I'm drawing back to cut, there's jimping on top, and there is some jimping underneath for your first finger position in that guard. Then you're going to go to the back, and you're going to see there's jimping back here for the heel of your palm. This thing is going to be locked in really, really tight. If you have to press in really hard, if you're working against a tough hide and it's cold out, your hands are never going to slip on this one. I'm just convinced it's going to stay put and be safe, which matters because, like I said, insanely sharp, scalpel sharp blade. Briefly, just because I was wearing it earlier, I do have the Circadian next to me, and I just want to show you something. These are not the same handle. They're very different, and I appreciate that. Although they both have some really nice features, and I love to EDC this one. I absolutely love this blade, but you can see how different they actually are. Not the same handle whatsoever. And the G10 is going to be way easier to clean out than this micarta, but this micarta is really nice, very, very high class feeling actually. For EDC tasks, it's going to be great. And it's, you know, it's generally dirt and grime resistant, oil resistant, good grip on the Circadian, but this blade is not going to replace this one in my opinion, and this is just a different build type altogether if you can't tell. Let's do that. Similar length overall, but the Skinner has some features that it's just going to lend it better to skinning, of course, rather than EDC tasks. So this still has a place, still appreciate it. Man, I got hair everywhere. But this one is going to come with me for my next hunt, and I'm excited to try this on grouse and small game as well. I know when it comes to blades, hunting blades, we think of field dressing, we think of skinning, and that seems to be the majority of what we're thinking of as gutting a deer. But actually, the same blade, I'm going to clean it off after gutting, I'm going to bring it back to the kitchen, and I'm going to work with it in the kitchen. It needs to be able to process meat and get stuff down into workable pieces. And this blade is a perfect size for that. It's not super long, but I also don't have like an elk sitting in front of me. I have, you know, a whitetail sitting in front of me. And you can still take a shorter blade as long as it's very sharp, and this one is, and it's easy to wash off, and this one is. And I can still process, you know, quarters like this shoulder over here. I try to pick out any hair that I can. I try to be pretty thoughtful about that ahead of time. And silver skin or extra fatty chunks that aren't going to cook down and soften up very good, I try to get after those earlier because I know my kids are not going to appreciate it very much. Just move this over. So on this shoulder, there is a bone that runs, let's find where it is, right here. So you find that bone and you can kind of run your blade, let's see, on the side of the bone all the way down. And I almost want to be careful because I don't want to cut through my cutting board. The knife is that sharp, I'm not even kidding. It'll cut through a silicone cutting board if you're putting a lot of effort into it. And this has been thawing out for 24 hours. I maybe could have given it a little bit more time because it's still quite chilled inside, but I'm going to cut through, I'm going to find that bone and basically just fillet this off of that bone on both sides as much as possible. All right, here's some of the stuff I appreciate about the RangeWolf. First of all, I like a good broad blade, even for an EDC. I need some amount of broadness there so that it has shearing potential. And then the fact that this is also a hunting kind of blade, I need the shearing, slicing capability. And this comes down to a really nice thin edge. It's not a super thick stock thickness in the first place, and it does have a, distal taper. It tapers down to the point here, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a weak point. It is a very acute point for sure, but I don't think it's a weak point in the blade. Still enough muscle behind that, enough meat behind that, but a good broad shearing edge. And when it comes to a flat grind, with flat grinds and EDC work, as long as I'm not trying to use it as my primary woods knife, it's just fine. That's not a problem for me at all. Moving on from the blade and some of the features on the blade, I'm actually going to talk about the handle. The handle is a big deal, and the handle on this one is really nice because it is G10. It's not an aggressive G10. It doesn't eat up your hand. It doesn't seem to, it's almost like it's one directional. It's real grippy one way and it's real smooth the other way, but it doesn't eat up my hand at all. All the corners and edges are radiused. Every contour on the blade has a nice, just a nice radius to it. So it's really grippy. And you do have this really neat light jimping built into the blade, even up here in the first finger position. You've got light jimping built into it, but it just provides traction. It's not something that's going to really be obnoxious against your hand or eat up your fingers at all. So the handle is broad enough, and it's also thick enough, but it's not as thick as some of the F5 that I've recently reviewed. It's not as thick as the Vicon or the F5, and it's not trying to be those things. It's trying to be something a little bit different. And I would say as far as an EDC goes, this is a much more carryable EDC. The thing that I've said repeatedly about this so far is it carries like a small knife in my front pocket. I've been carrying it in this sheath right here. I think there will be a couple carry options, and so I'm not talking a lot about this, but yeah, I have an Alti clip on a nice Reiff Knives leather sheath, but it carries really well in the front pocket, and it's because it's not too thick and it's not too broad, and the blade isn't too long and the handle isn't too long or thick or stout. It's just a really nice mix in between, but it still comes down to a high performance edge, which is something that I need to have. Now it does come in MagnaCut. For some people, that's a good thing. I would say most people would benefit from this. If you're somebody who maybe just really doesn't respect your blade at all, MagnaCut could be attractive because it's pretty resilient. And I found that in particular, the Reiff knives that I've had in MagnaCut, and I've got a few of them in MagnaCut to test, they've gotten wet, they've been left in a little bit of water, not necessarily salt water, but they've been left in wet conditions, blood and guts on them, and they're just not rusting out on me. They're easy to strap back. I just really don't struggle to strap these back, especially this one. This one's wicked sharp. So they strap back well, but they do seem to hold an edge better than most of my other carbon steels or just plain carbon steels that I kind of grew up using. So it's a huge advantage. And if you're almost kind of disrespectful to your steel or you use knives like a tool, which many of us do, MagnaCut is not a bad option. And in particular, I think Reiff Knives has a nice hardness for the MagnaCut. It is a superior steel to begin with, and the way that they're doing it with hardness and blade finish, and that sort of thing, the actual edge, I think it's a functional utility blade as well as a great hunter. And it's going to do well for 99% of the people out there who don't necessarily need a high carbon steel or maybe an even higher stainless steel. I think this is going to do well for most of the market. So the last few days have been some pretty stiff use with this thing. I've just been throwing everything at it. It's been nicking bones, hitting some pretty solid deer bones and squirrel bones, and then using it to cup zip ties, just as much as I can with all this stuff from a recent move that I did. I've got all this trespass sitting around that had to be cut up, got rubber pieces and fabric, a lot of cardboard, like an insane amount of cardboard from boxes to cut up, and that does dull a blade out eventually. So all I did, and this is not an exaggeration, is after many, many hours of use, with this blade of cutting up meat, cutting up cardboard, zip ties, all that sort of thing. It was still pretty sharp, but it wasn't razor sharp anymore. I hit a leather strap with a little bit of compound in it, back and forth 2 times. Now, it was a hard strap when I did it, but I did it 2 times just to see what would happen with this. And it is back to shaving sharp. It's back to wicked sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and run it through this cardboard and just see what that looks like after. Yeah, that is all the way through. In fact, that was through my next piece of cardboard. Whoops. I was trying to use that to protect the table. Ooh, that is very sharp. So this is double thick, and then there's a seam in the back. I'm telling you, it's not just the thinness that's slicing this. Sometimes in a blade, it might not even have a good edge, but if it's very thin, it'll kind of deceive you. It'll appear to be very, very sharp or slicey. This one is both. It's relatively thin, but it's incredibly slicey, and I'm very happy. Oh man. It's like the cardboard isn't even there. Man, just 2 straps and this guy's back to wicked sharp. That's why I'm saying this is kind of the ultimate EDC for me. I think my opinion so far, with just the last few days of use, the ergonomics and the build of the knife, the materials, the way that the grind has been done, this is the best flat grind knife that I have put in my hands for EDC tasks. Hands down. I can't think of any blade that would surpass this. I've had lots of great blades. I just think this is the best flat grind knife I have used, at least in 2025 as a minimum. Now, full transparency, I have not had months and months of use with this. I just got this in the last week or so, and I needed to put it to the test quickly because I knew they were about to drop it. I needed to come up with what I thought of the blade before the release. And so the nature of my relationship with Reiff is they do send these out to the channel. They do not tell me what to say. They do not tell me what to like about the blade or another company to bash or who they're competing against. The gentleman behind this brand, Stu, he just asked me, what do you think of the blade? Do you like it? Does it work well? He's looking for genuine feedback. And I appreciate that there's some real integrity left in the market. This is a super hard piece of cherry. It's about 4 years dried. And the moisture content is so low in this that it's almost not even good firewood anymore. It's so incredibly hard. That's just how some fruit wood tends to be. It's actually a good medium to test the edge against. If you were trying to make feather sticks out in the woods, you need to get some dry wood, and this is the blade that you had on your side. If I'm going to EDC something, I need to know that it can work with less than ideal conditions. And yes, this blade is going to be able to help me get some dry tinder, make some feathers. I make, 10 of these and put them together. I'm going to be able to dry out my other tinder if it's wet, get some sticks started, hopefully mix some fat wood in, birch bark, and my fire will take off. This spine actually is a little bit rounded, and what I would probably do if I needed to use this on ferrocerium is I would take a rock and just get a sharp edge somewhere on here. It might actually spark a little bit as it is. It maybe does spark. And let's put it to the test. I'm going to go get a ferro rod and find out if this already sparks. But if I couldn't get this to spark, guys, what I would do for my ferro rod is I would get a rock and just knock this thing a few times on the back or scrape it. And a lot of times just knocking a rock or a piece of flint on here will actually give you a little gouge that will flake off some ferro rod material and oxidize and get real hot for you, producing a flame. I'm going to go get a ferro rod and we'll find out if this thing can throw sparks as it is. All right, let's see what we can do. So the initial scrape is just going to be to remove the old material on here. You just got to get that old dried oxidized bits off there, almost like ash. And then after that, oh, it does. Look at that. It sure does. So that's why you test stuff. It does throw sparks decently. Not perfectly, but it does throw them decently as it is. There's enough in that jimping to get after this. If you had a really hard ferro rod, it might throw different kinds of sparks. This one happens to be fairly soft right now. It's kind of an old ferro rod, actually. So it does throw sparks as it is, unmodified, straight from the factory. It does the trick if that's a big deal to you. Me personally, Although I have a ferro rod with very often, lately, like the last year, I've just been using a lighter a lot if I'm out and I actually need to have a fire, or I don't have a fire at all because it's been so dry. But I know I can carry this with a ferro rod in my pocket and make it work, which is the important thing. And even from the factory, it's going to do fine. All right, wrapping it up. Who is the intended, target audience for a blade like this? Right now in 2025, I would say EDC, fixed blade EDCs are really popular. One of the things that I don't appreciate about some of like the Amazon EDCs or some of the kind of budget entry models is poor workmanship, materials. I've seen some of these Amazon blades where the scales actually stick out from the spine, or you'll see sometimes that the hardware has been like cross-threaded, or it doesn't have hardware you can get at. Like you can actually access these and take the scales off and stuff. I've seen Amazon blades with marketing of a certain kind of steel, and then you use it and it's either a soft version, not heat treated right, or it's just not even that steel altogether. So I get concerned when I look at some of the budget options for EDC blades, because technically it's one of the most important blades you're gonna carry. It's the one that's with you in your pocket, and you probably need to rely on it the most, especially if you weren't expecting it, and that's the blade you have. So I think this is marketed, yes, towards the EDC crowd who like a utility blade that has, like I said earlier, a little broadness to it. It's got some shearing potential for two things. We are working on, let's say, cutting down cardboard boxes, opening your packages, cutting zip ties, normal things like that. But then also you want to cut up and process a deer or a rabbit or squirrel like I've been showing on my channel. It's going to be able to do those things just fine. It's got the workmanship, the materials, the fit and finish, and the features that you can actually use this in those areas. And then pride of ownership is a huge one. This is a really, really stinking nice knife. I think the feel of this, even though it's G10, it's not micarta, it feels very high dollar, very high quality, and nothing about this is something that I would change for an EDC utility. It's rare that I can say that, because most blades, there's something you're like, I would have done this different, or I would have preferred this. This is so ideal for the way that I personally am going to use it. Majority of the time, it's looking like a hunting blade for me. I'm going to process a lot of game with this, but I don't have any problem with EDCing it either, especially because I believe there's a chance that Kydex options are going to be coming out sometime soon. And if that is the case, then I'll be buying a Kydex sheath for mine as well, because I just like carrying Kydex sheaths most often. But right now, it doesn't hold me back. I can grab the sheath wherever I put it. Oh, it's in my pocket. I was carrying it. So I don't mind carrying in a leather sheath front pocket, but Kydex is just even that much more convenient. So I like this option. I think it's aimed at folks who are actually going to use blades, and they don't need a giant blade. They don't need the F5 to get by for the day or the week or the hunt. They can do a little bit less. And the RangeWolf as a blade has that same fit and finish that you're going to find on the other blades, maybe even a step up, it almost feels like, than the other blades. And then it has just an Excalibur blade. Really, really sharp, slicey. It's a flat grind. It's different than some of the other Reiff knives, and it stands out from them both in handle and blade design. So I think any of you who enjoy Reiff knives, or you've been thinking about a fixed blade EDC, this is #1 on my list. Absolutely #1. Get this one first. This will set the standard, and I think I will judge every other flat blade EDC blade in the future against this one. It is the top of my list. Thank you guys for watching this channel and this video. If you don't think this is exactly what you're looking for, but you like blades, you like fixed blades, you like folding knives, I've got some more videos for you. Would you go ahead and watch one of these videos, or maybe go ahead and comment down below what you thought of this blade and how you would use it?